FTI community, I am joined by an incredible musician who is no stranger to the FTI community. In his 6+ year illustrious career, he has released many singles, many EPs, 2 LPs, a plethora of music videos. He is the creator of the FTI theme song that you hear for every creator of the week in your studio podcast, generic random stories that we post. He most recently dropped a new single titled Blue Fornication, I believe on January 24th. And he is someone I am honored to call a great friend. FTI community, I am joined by Zane, aka Mindy Sounds. How are we doing this evening?
What's going on? I'm doing good. Just hanging out.
I really enjoy the cozy setup you have going a lot.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I went for the kind of the bed studio podcast setup for tonight.
Is that like a different angle from like how you record your music, or is it actually like set up the same way?
Yeah, I know, like desk and music areas beside me here, and so I just like flip this little laptop stand around, and then I got my interface, my mic, and everything because I can kind of move things around a bit. So
It's turned out very nice and very very cozy. That's
thank
awesome.
you.
I just got back from Toronto and I quickly want to touch on Toronto because I'm still on the Toronto hangover of like coming home and going like, oh my God, that's a city.
Yeah.
I think Guelph is congested, but Brandon, Danielle, and I could not believe the bodies and the buildings and how close the buildings are. So for like you and Dylan and Brandon to live there, I couldn't even imagine a week, let alone 72 hours.
Yeah, I know it's pretty crazy. Like to be honest, I'm luckily like in kind of a neighborhood that's a little like out of the crazy downtown city.
Mhm.
So it's like I'm not really dealing with that like on a daily basis, but definitely it's like anytime you go downtown, even if you live in an area like I do, you're just reminded of like, oh yeah, it's insanely busy everywhere.
when when you came from like your hometown, because I think we've talked about how you moved to Toronto way back when. Was it
Mhm.
a big adjustment for you, or because you moved into like a quieter neighborhood, it was one of the same?
No, I think there was still that kind of like that awe of like moving to a major city because I'd only ever grown up like in a small town, and then during COVID like I was in an even smaller town because of COVID, and my parents moved, and then I kind of moved to Toronto from there, so it was like we like downsized super hard right before I like moved out to Toronto myself, and so I think it was still like it just felt crazy to all of a sudden be jumping into that.
Do you find yourself being there for like a long period of time from now into the future, or do you kind of want to go back and go to like the smaller town?
I don't know. I think probably like the Toronto kind of major city vibe is seeming like what will be at least like the next, like 3 to 5 years ish.
Yeah.
And then after that it's like who knows, maybe there's some kind of like quaint farmhouse lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Reminiscent of like the atmosphere in the Red House music video, especially too. And I think
Yeah.
Toronto honestly probably opened not even a lot of doors for you, but it gave you so many connections because like with the mutuals we have, like Dylan and Cena and Brianna, um, you being creator this week would not have been possible if I didn't know Dylan and them. Just like it was said on your creator of the week, the way that you're able to be a musician, be a persona, you travel through genres with this like marvelous flair that captures the heart and ears of listeners everywhere. Whether it's the stories told on projects like Do Not Stand on My Grave, The Stars Could Burn Out, or whether it is the anthems you provide worldwide, like Keeping You, What to Do Now, and so many more, your versatility has shined bright and you continue to build a future that only shines brighter. But for the people and the FTI community members who don't know you, introduce us to Zane.
Oh God, I don't know. I'm first of all, thank you for all the kind words, but Yeah, I'm just other than all those things, I'm just a guy making music in my apartment, and I've been producing music for like almost 10 years, I think. It's kind of hard to keep track, I guess. I guess 2026 will be 10 years. But
Wow.
but yeah, and I just do my own kind of thing. I really try to make different music that I guess you wouldn't really expect to all hear from like the same artist. Um and yeah, I'm just always trying to do new things and really expand my connections and meet new people and collaborate and just all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was actually that brought to mind when I texted you earlier this week, and I was like, what would you define like the genres you hang out in? Because when I was writing the script, I
Mm.
was like, is subgenre a thing? Is it disrespectful if I say like main genre, subgenre? And then I was really thinking like, you really do dabble everywhere, and you like to not only experiment, but you like to take a genre, work at it with a few singles, and then like release like an all-encompassing project within that genre.
Mm.
We'll talk about it in a little bit, of course, but the project with Clovers is completely different compared to like Do Not Stand at My Grave. But it's you on both with two different sounds, which is just
Yeah.
absolutely crazy.
No, exactly. That's kind of why I feel like, the question of like what genre, what kind of music do you make? What genre are you? It's just like I never really know what the like actual correct answer to that should be for me. Because that's like the number one thing you're asked if you go to like any music event or like, like kind of event downtown where it's like a bunch of musicians and you're supposed to, meet and connect with people. And it's like that's like the number one thing you're asked. And I'm always kind of just like, well, I guess I make like electronic music like 90% of the time, but I also like, you know, have been working on this like country song, so I don't really know what I do.
If you were to talk to yourself in 2016, what did Zane want to create in 2016 compared to 9 years later?
Oh my god, yeah, it would probably just be so different. Like cuz 2016 it's like I was only really making EDM music and like, crazy kind of dance and like dubstep stuff that was only being released on SoundCloud. And I was working a lot with my homie Miguel, who I met through SoundCloud, who makes like kind of Latin like EDM music. So we were doing a lot of collaborations together. Those Some of those old remixes are kind of the earliest stuff that's still on my SoundCloud actually, but yeah, like I was not singing, like I had not started singing 2016. So no vocals, nothing like that. And it was kind of just like instrumental electronic EDM stuff.
Yeah. What did like the first few like months of music creation, like the very like experimental, like honestly getting to know more about the PlayStation microphone recordings and like how that
Yeah.
all turned into what it is today.
Yeah, no, that's obviously like the most humble beginnings because it's just like the fact that I started actually like my first ever attempt at like creating music was obviously that like PlayStation mic with headphones wrapped around it, and then the headphones are plugged directly into my old like Yamaha keyboard with all the like integrated sounds. And then the software I was using was just Audacity because all I needed to do was like record and like move clips around. So there was like nothing more technical besides that. And that was just how I like recorded all of my pieces of music. They were all basically like almost like freestyles of like I would just like play a piece of music for 3 minutes and then like hit hit stop and then like do some fade in and fade outs, and then that was the song.
That's awesome. That's so good. That's amazing. When
Yeah.
you're passionate about something, you will do absolutely anything to make that project come to
No,
life.
literally, it's like I just didn't know. I did not know what else I was supposed to be doing. It was just like these are the tools at my disposal, so I guess I'll do it this way.
And then like traveling like 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 9 years, you learn more, you experiment more. And now I bet if you were to do how you record music today and have that be your starting equipment 10 years ago, you probably wouldn't have appreciated your journey so far because you worked with like actual like not bottom tier for lack of a better term, but compared to what you have now,
No,
I,
literally. I actually remember the time I went into Cosmo Music. Shout out if you know, if anyone listening knows Cosmo Music, because it's like there's a lack of music stores in like the kind of, I forget what you'd call it, like Aurora and like Markham. And I think Cosmo Music is in Markham. And it's like the one huge one that everyone goes to if you're in like any kind of vicinity of that area. Um and I remember the time I went there, and like I think I was, it was one of the major moments of like going to upgrade my setup. Like I was making some big upgrade, whether it was like buying a new microphone or buying the speakers or buying like the audio interface or something. And the employee asked like what DAW I use, like digital audio workstation. And I told him Audacity, and he straight up just laughed in my face when I said that.
oh no.
And so I was like, damn. I
Oh
guess
no.
I guess I'm not ready for that upgrade. Like
Oh,
that hit hard.
yeah, that's not employee of the month standing behind that till right there saying those kind of things. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
But then it was kind of like, well, maybe I do have to like start figuring out like the proper music software that, most people use, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that was some kind of like wake up call, and kind of just like, I guess more or less like it was inspiring to be like, oh, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, but then, yeah, it's like shortly after I probably ended up upgrading to getting Ableton and then starting on there.
In the 9 years that you've been creating music so far, when you have yourself as your day to day being Zane, but then you have your music persona, um, I really was always curious to ask you specifically because of the genres you kind of dabble through. Are they one of the same entity, or would you say you use your music persona to express yourself more freely and kind of be like very fictional about some things?
Yeah, I do think that, I think a lot of my older music, even with kind of the Mindy Sounds project, is like, to me it's kind of like a lot of the older music was maybe more um like, I don't know, like made up stories and kind of like just trying to write songs that like seemed like they would be cool songs without really having like much to write about. Because, it's like in some of these cases where I'm like, 19, 20 years old, living in like an RV at my parents' place during COVID, it's like there's literally like, what inspiration is there going to be to write a song? Like it would have just kind of been impossible. And so I feel like kind of around that time, and even after like 2020, 2021, there was just definitely kind of things where, and even like a song like Red House was kind of just like an idea that was like this fantasy, kind of like the same way you'd maybe write like a short film or something. You'd just be like, oh, maybe this would be cool to expand upon. So
Espe- And when I think about Red House, I specifically remember when Emerson covered it on Emerson's Music Corner from the old FTI, and he made a connection between, I think it was Bob Marley's song Red House, and then
Hmm.
when I remember when Will and I asked you on the Never Heard Again episode of the In Your Studio
Oh
podcast,
yeah.
and you're like, honestly, it was about a red house, and I was like, down, this is the greatest.
Yeah, no, literally it's like there was there was literally no further inspiration besides like there was this cool looking red house in my neighborhood, and then it was kind of just like that sounds like it'd be a cool name for a song, and maybe there's like some kind of story that can be written to this red house thing.
Yeah. And that's actually really cool because when Average James was the guest on the In Your Studio podcast, something he talked about with me in great detail was how people perceive art, whether it's music, films, video games, you name it. Art and content is made to be perceived by like endless opportunities, endless ways. So with Emerson perceiving Red House as like, oh, I might have a connection to a song that Emerson knows as Red House. And then the actual story to you, it's like, no, it was just a cool red house in the neighborhood, which Dylan Lorman then created this really cool looking red house for the cover art. I
Mm.
think it's very interesting because it just tells you right there that art can be perceived in so many ways, even when you can't control how somebody looks at it. It's no secret at all that your song is full, sorry, not your songs, your discography is full of songs that can be perceived in a way entirely different way than how you are creating it at that moment, at that time. Does the perception of how others look at your music and look at Mindy sounds affect the music you create? And if so, do you have an example of a song that when you released it, you had someone tell you that the song was completely about something else in their eyes?
Yeah, that's a good question. It'd be I have to try and remember like a song that maybe it's definitely happened. Like someone kind of being like, "Oh, is this song kind of about this kind of thing?" And then me hearing that, I'd be like, "Oh, actually, no. Like it has nothing to do with that." But that's kind of a good connection. Like it could have been like I could see how you would think that kind of thing. But but yeah, I don't know if like an example comes to mind.
Does
Um,
the perception affect how someone could take your music though? Like when you are creating, do you ever have that thought in your mind of like, oh no, like this could be perceived entirely different, or do you welcome that feeling in?
Maybe yeah. I think it can definitely. That's maybe like a pretty early on worry into like writing a song is like, oh, like will these lyrics or this kind of story in the song be perceived like the way I'm hoping that it will be, or will it just like completely not make any sense? And but then I think it's kind of like once the song becomes closer to being finished, you're like, no, like this is like how I want it to be, and whether people interpret it the way I want isn't really up to me. So it's like let whatever happens happens.
Yeah, I agree with that standpoint entirely because when you release something for anybody to consume publicly, it's honestly out of your hands about like how they're going to consume it. And I think something that you do very well with your music, and we've talked about it in great lengths before, is how you actually bring people behind the scenes, behind the curtain, and show people how you make songs. With TikTok and Instagram being such important platforms for artists to not only build the connection with the community, but as I mentioned, give that behind the scenes look. It kind of gives your music and you, I guess your music more so, a second life in terms of like, oh, I really like Blue Fornication, but now I have so much more appreciation for it. I've seen Tyler Warden comment on it. I've seen Dylan comment on it. And I'm sure knowing that you have a community of people who genuinely enjoy learning about the music, it gives like that, like, oh, you know what? This is cool how this was created. And I really do enjoy how I put this out with songs such as Blue Fornication, When I Make It, Made It, just to name a few. Is there a particular reason why you make these kind of behind the scenes breakdowns? Or better yet, do you think that creating these videos add that extra life to it?
Yeah, I think that would be a cool way to look at it is kind of like, you can shine a light on you can shine more of a light on the song kind of, especially like after it's come out. Especially for me, I kind of think that I struggle with like creating content after a song has been released. And so doing the how I made videos is a good way to be like, here's a closer look at this song that you can go and listen to right now, after you watch the video, if you didn't know about the song to begin with, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I think I started doing them because I just wanted to like hopefully inspire people that see them, and maybe it like makes people more interested in the music, or even if they're not a producer, maybe it like makes them interested in the process of making music, like just because it can be an interesting thing. And for me, like, I think a huge way I kind of got started with making music on Ableton and stuff was like watching artists that I look up to like produce on video, like watching like a live stream or a YouTube upload of a live stream that's like a 3 hour video, and it's just them like making a song from scratch. And I feel like I got like so much intel from watching videos like that when I started out. And so it's always kind of been something that I wanted to do, was like make kind of behind the scenes videos of like how I'm making my music, even if they're like these short kind of 2 minute videos.
Yeah, and it's really neat because when you make videos like that, that it has all the potential in the world for someone such as myself with FDI to come in and say like, "Hey, I'd love to collaborate with you on like the FDI theme song, for example." And then when we can say like, "What do we want to sound like?" We can pull from these videos, or maybe one of these "How I Made" insert song title here can really give us a better idea of what we want something to sound like, not
Mm.
necessarily doing like a Mindy Sounds and, for example, a Shoop collab, but maybe Mindy Sounds is the backing to a Shoop solo song because he discovered these videos. And with social media and Instagram and TikTok and every single social media platform out there, so much content is thrown at our face at once that, as you mentioned, it like if someone didn't hear the song, but they're watching how it was made before, now that person's aware, hey, this song is out. I learned about how it was made before I listened to it, because I just feel like with social media that people chase an algorithm, but the creators really just want to say like what I'm doing is cool, and what I'm doing I'd love for like input on, whether it's good feedback, whether it's negative criticism, just putting out what you do there so you're able to really say like, yes, I made this, check this out.
Yeah, no, I think for sure like the one of the main things I like try to achieve with kind of social media posting stuff is just like, can I post something that like people would be genuinely interested in watching, and I'm still kind of trying to get better with that, but I think that the how I made videos are kind of like so far my best attempt at that. Is like, I do think that it's possible that like someone that has no idea who I am or what I'm doing could see that pop up on their feed and be like, "Oh, this is kind of cool and interesting, and maybe I will go listen to this song." So, it's like I just try to do that kind of direction of content where it's like something that would actually get people's attention and be interesting.
Yeah. And a story I find really interesting about you as a producer, and then like you kind of like navigating and collaborating with somebody is with Clovers, because we talked about it years ago as well, how
Mm.
you were able to start the spark for Clover's music career from What to Do Now to releasing the Bittersweet EP, with a music video nonetheless for What to Do Now. That time in 2023, I'm sure is such a special and a fond memory for you and him. Talk to us about your relationship with Clovers from like both the friend perspective and kind of like hey, I want to do this together. I think you'd be great at this. Let's make music together.
Yeah, no, for sure. We've been homies for years now. I think since like 2021, and I think I mentioned on the last recording, but he's um he's my girlfriend's twin brother, which is funny. So it's like we met through like an old friend group, and then arguably I kind of met my now girlfriend because she was the twin sister of Clovers. But yeah, he started like when we became friends, he had like never made music or like tried to be an artist or anything. So it just kind of eventually came up that he was very interested in like going that direction, and he'd always wanted to try making some music and stuff. And I could kind of just tell that like his music taste and what he would likely be wanting to make would be like very like different and unique almost. So it's like right away that was kind of exciting to me. It's like, oh, we can, if we work together on some stuff from scratch, like it'll probably be like stuff I've never made before. So that definitely just seemed like it would be really cool to try. And then yeah, like I think some of like the first songs we made ended up being on the Bittersweet EP. Like I think Stranger, the last track on that EP, was like one of the tracks in the first batch of stuff that we like ever made together. And again, kind of all those songs on that EP like did take a long time. Like it was, I guess, probably like a year of working on these tracks and like refining and changing and making sure that they were how we wanted them to be. But it was just really cool to like see him grow so much as an artist in a year and make a bunch of cool songs that I had never really made anything like before. And and I definitely just want to do more stuff like that. So,
And it puts confidence in the both of you too. Like you learn something, you kind of, as we've talked about many times in this conversation, is adds to like the genres that you dip your toes in. But to him, he went from making no music when he met you to having a whole EP and a music video, because now he can say he's a successfully made music, but he's also made music that's been heard by many people.
hmm,
Um,
yeah, I know it, and he goes crazy on his own stuff too. It like he's been putting out some of his own songs, and I usually kind of do like some co-production on them for vocals and stuff. And it's like he dropped his first track on SoundCloud a few months ago, and it like got 10K streams on SoundCloud. So it's like, yeah, like dude's gonna be going places for sure. Like I think he's always had it in him. It just he really just needed that like first starting out little push.
it's who you surround yourself with. It's most definitely who you surround yourself with. This next question is honestly a no brainer because you've actually already answered it. What does it mean for you when you get to see your friends' passions come to life? Like especially when it's in the music realm or like something entirely different, like fashion, anything at all. What's it mean to you when you see it come to life?
Oh yeah, I mean it's the best thing ever. Like it's arguably like more gratifying than your own stuff like really taking off, because you can just, it's like from an outside perspective it's almost easier to see the growth happening in real time, whereas if you're just looking at yourself and your own kind of career growth, it's like everything gets kind of jumbled and it's just hard to really keep track of everything going on. So it's like for sure like just watching Clovers and like Dylan and just anyone like that who are just like on the grind of like putting stuff out that's just really cool. And they're making it happen for themselves. Like you just kind of know as a homie and as a genuine fan of theirs that like they're bound to be successful and like blow up at some point because what they're doing is sick and it's like only a matter of time. So yeah, it's just always been awesome to kind of be someone in the sidelines like watching all of that go down.
What is it about you as an artist collaborating with others that intrigues you? Like other than like the looking from the sideline, like what really gets you like going when it's like, hey, I have this collaboration potential with Wednesday, Where's Luna, Flixo, Timmy Toucans. Is there something that really draws you to a collaboration, or do you kind of have to be not talked into it in a bad way, but kind of like persuaded, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, no, I think like my what I've kind of always thought with collabs is just like if I like the sound of what you're doing and I genuinely think it's cool, then I'm down to work on it with you. Like, and that's not even to say that it's like obviously someone like Wednesday sending something over. It's like, yeah, this is dope. Like that was like an instant. I'm down to work on this, and it was also just such an easy decision knowing that I wanted him on a song like Keeping You and Designer Girl because it was just like, yeah, I already know he's going to sound like perfect on these records. So it's like, all I have to hope is that he'll see the vision as well and be like, yeah, I'm totally down.
he
And
has
so,
such an amazing he's such an amazing person. Like just
yeah,
him aura, I guess is the word people use this year. Wednesday
yeah,
has it.
no, literally. And he's just like massively underrated. And the dude, again, is just killing it. Like he does so much good shit. So more people need to be listening. But but yeah, like even just if someone's reaching out to me and I don't know them and they're like sending me a song that they maybe want help on or just want to potentially collaborate. It's like if I think it's cool and that it has potential and that I can see me having a hand in it, then I'm down. Like it doesn't nothing else matters beyond that. And I feel like I when I was starting out it never really felt like that. It always kind of seemed like whoever I'd reach out to, it was just like an automatic they wouldn't be interested because I didn't have any followers and didn't have much music. And so I don't know, it's like I just definitely want to stray away of like having that mindset at all.
On that last point there, I don't mean to turn this into the FTI realm, but I think you just opened the door perfectly. It is baffling in the best way possible. Honestly, I don't want anyone to take this out of context or from a perception that's entirely false. The amount of people that wouldn't give FTI a chance because they didn't see the opportunity to just like show their work at the time, like 100, 200 people
Mm.
are now some of the people that only hit up FTI to promote their stuff. But I keep a really close eye on if they're supporting people like you, like Wednesday, like Shoop. And it's just
Mm.
crazy because to them, the mentality of followers equals what they think that person's doing in terms of their like their art, their career, their content. But it's crazy. And I use this, I guess, analogy a lot, or I use this reference a lot, is Tyler the Creator said, you never know who's watching. So if you're gonna honestly go base someone's success or their talent based off a number on a social media platform, you're never gonna just find your group of people because one person can be incredible at something and not even have a social media account to share it with. They might be doing it in their bedroom for fun that you'll never hear it ever.
Mm. No, completely. Like it's just definitely like such a backwards mentality to be like, "Oh, you're not like successful yet, then like I'm not gonna like try and help you out with your journey at all." It's like It should literally be the opposite, where it's like, oh, I'm more interested in what you're doing because you like clearly don't have a lot of people that know about you yet, and what you're doing is still cool. Like,
Yes.
so yeah, I mean, it's the age old thing of like, don't judge a book by its cover, kind of.
FTI community, what is going on? It is Kappa Matt, just interrupting the podcast real quick with Mindy Sounds to actually let you know that Mindy Sounds has a brand new 6-track EP titled Remix Archives, and it is currently streaming everywhere. Instead of me telling you about it, here's a quick preview. Catch it after this podcast. And there's so many different definitions of success. Like, success to me is probably completely different than what success means to you, because everybody has like their goals they chase, the achievements they create, the milestones that they surpass. And so
Mm.
for you said it perfectly. For someone to just go like, hey, I don't want to work with you because you don't have a following, you might be giving up on the person that in a year from now you're like, fuck, I should have worked with them when I had that opportunity.
Yeah, no, totally. Like, that's, I feel like that's every artist, including mine's, like, you know, wet dream, essentially, is like literally the moment of like an artist. It's like maybe they're like a bit bigger than you, and you're reaching out to them with something that you think is sick, and they're obviously just like, nah, like you're just like a nobody, so I don't even care what it sounds like. And they probably don't even listen to it, is like most likely the case. And but then just to have that moment of like one day like you're bigger than them, and they might be like they might even be reaching out to you and like hoping that you forgot about that.
Yeah.
It is just like, nah, man, like there is no forgetting that. I feel like it's like, we're not, I know you're not cool now, so it's
Yes, sir.
like the facade
Yes.
is ruined.
Yes, sir. We've talked about this too. I got quit saying that because now it sounds like people have listened. They missed the podcast. But this is a
Yeah.
conversation we had in person last summer. Is there a realm or a brand or an idea that you have yet to work with? Like it could be a person, it could be a brand, it could be absolutely anything where you're like, I want to achieve that, or I want to kind of shoot my shot and reach out to that.
um oh god, I don't know, like I feel like my ambitions there would probably be like pretty crazy, just because I'm maybe like aiming pretty high. And besides those kind of like high goals, I'm not really too sure. But like, I don't know, like I think working with some cool clothing brands that are like more underground that I like would be really awesome. Um, but I'm not even really sure like how that would look.
Mhm.
But it's kind of just like maybe in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, once I get maybe a bit bigger, like I'll definitely like make it known that I like these brands, so that maybe like some kind of connection can start there. And and I feel like that would definitely just be the same with any kind of artist that I would like want to collaborate with, that I know would like probably only become more plausible if I like got a little bit more exposure, and music started getting a bit bigger. Um yeah, I just feel like it'd be kind of the same thing where I would just like make it known that I wanted to work with them and that I really liked what they did.
Yeah. I know from I can't honestly speak for him 100%, but I do know your name has been in conversation with him and I a lot. Is Tyler Warden of Warden Watch? I
Mm.
think I think for something like a Zane or a Mindy Sounds with like a Warden Watch kind of like collab, or maybe like model the watch. You help them with like the design process. You provide the anthem. I think those are one of those connections that are waiting to happen, and all it would take is maybe by the time he listens to this, that he reaches out to you, you reach out to him, and that could be something that you look at and go like, holy shit, I'm glad we did that.
Yeah, I know for sure. Like, I think for stuff like that, it's like I'm kind of just waiting for the moment of like people to reach out and just have like a cool idea, and then it's like most likely I'm gonna be totally down. Like, I think anything like that is just so cool, and people creating things. It's like I always want to be a part of it, and we actually did talk in the DMs a little bit recently, just because he was showing his support on my newest single, and so I know that he's a super nice guy, and I do really like the look of what he's been doing lately. So it's like, yeah, that's a perfect example of like I'm already down.
Yes. As I subtly show the watch off.
Yeah.
Another one, and I relate this to a lot of musicians in the FTI community. To call him out, Shoop is I think Shoop is one of the most talented, genuine, creative people that I've known. I've known Derek for coming up on 19 years next year. And I work with him, so I see him
Damn.
5 days a week against my will.
Yeah.
No, is I'm always like, hey, like reach out to Mindy, reach out to Tyler, reach out to Cena. And he's like, dude, like they're just like they're so much bigger and they're so much better than I am. And I was like, dude, you're literally convincing yourself of a narrative that doesn't exist. And it's situations like this that you're always
Mm.
just gonna wonder what if. But I guarantee if I were to create a group chat between me, you, and Derek, I would leave it after like the hey Mindy, this is Shoop, this is Mindy, and then watch the magic happen from there. And I guess it's kind of like from I guess imposter syndrome, I think is what I want to say. But it's also from I guess the feeling of am I worthy to collaborate with an artist in that field?
Right. Yeah, I think that's kind of always the thing with like being an artist that's growing and who's still building an audience and building up kind of their own brand and everything, like, because I experience that all the time as well. It's kind of just like you feel like there's this border that's like kind of stopping you from doing these actions yet, because it's like you're not ready yet, you're not there yet, kind of thing. But that doesn't always have to be the case. It's like it obviously never hurts to try, and like I've reached out to people that I didn't think would like be would even respond, and they did. And I've reached out to people that I didn't know, and it's like it's obviously gone good and bad, but it's like the worst choice is to just not do it because you don't know what's going to happen. So,
Agreed. Agreed. I'll be the advocate for everybody. I'll be the wingman. I'll be the person talking to the elevator for somebody. I just think that that opening message you can send to absolutely anybody can create such incredible projects. Speaking of an
mm,
incredible project, your album, The Stars Could Burn Out, you put so much time and so much work into this album from front to beginning, so much so it even had the deluxe version come out weeks after the original. Talk about that album. Like, what was the initial concept turned reality, turned holy crap, this has almost been out for 9 months, a year.
mm, for sure, yeah, that was like that was it was a great thing to be working on for that long, obviously, because it was just like I felt like it was so much of me that I was putting into it, and I was really just focusing on the specifics with it, of like wanting the songwriting and the lyrics and everything to just feel like it was all cohesive. And and while I was making that album, I kind of set a rule for myself of like I'm not like allowed to start anything else, or like start working on like this other, like the EP for a year later, or the next singles after, until like all the album stuff is done, because I just wanted it to be like all the same vibe and feeling, and just everything kind of fit together. And so that was really the goal, and I think that that ended up working. Like I I made those initial 8 songs for the main album, and I really love all of them, and I think they all turned out like exactly how I envisioned. And then obviously the kind of extra stuff ended up being for the deluxe, which I think I kind of always knew that I wanted to do maybe a deluxe because I wanted the album to just be those 8 songs. But because there was other songs like IRL and When I Make It that were just like the exact same kind of feel as the rest of the album, it was like, yeah, like those have to be included somehow as well. And and so yeah, it's like that was really great being able to just like put it all out into the world, and then be like, okay, cool, like that's its whole own universe going on there. And now I can start like working on the next music.
Do you when you're creating, as you mentioned, like you want to like you set that goal, you set that rule, or it's like strictly only this album I'm working on. All of course the music creation comes where you're like taking the creative direction of how you want the album to sound. But when you have like Anna Mae and Where's Luna on the album, do you know from the start you're like, I need a feature because I have this idea that I know someone else could bring to life? Or is it kind of like in the middle of creating, you're like, oh my God, this could be a bonus if I added Anime to an Angel on Earth?
I think I think honestly more it's more likely that I'm like starting the song idea with them in mind as like being a feature for kind of like the second half of the song kind of thing, than it is me like working on the song and then realizing that like, oh, that I should ask them to just like jump in on this. It's like I really kind of want the song to like feel like they belong on it, and that they're kind of like a bigger part of it all, and that they're like part of what's piecing it all together in the end. So that's kind of usually my plan for collaborations. I think for those songs specifically, like it was definitely like I was sending both of them like the earliest demos of those songs, because I was like, start coming up with your stuff for this, and then I'll kind of like keep working on it, and then they'll send me stuff, and then I'll keep building on top of that, and the song can grow with what they've done on it, essentially.
Has the final version of your original idea ever just completely like blown you out of the water? Like you're like, wow, this sounds a lot better than I was anticipating.
Yeah, I'm sure that that's like 100% happened before for a bunch of things, but I don't know. It's usually more of like a technical thing, weirdly enough. Like I think if like I've got a song going that I had the vision and the plan for and everything, it's like usually I'm like, gonna end up with what I'm expecting.
Mhm.
But I think I think for the most part it's maybe like more of a technical thing where I end up being like, wow, like I can't believe how good the mix, or like the just how clean everything ended up sounding now that it's finished, when like, a month or two ago I was like, damn, this song really might just end up sounding like crap, but
Oh
I'm still gonna
no.
try and do my best. And then it's kind of like, oh my god, thank God it sounds good.
My introduction specifically to Where's Luna is off of Out My Head, and funny enough, I was cleaning my hard drive on my computer before this, and I found the Instagram story template I made in like 2021. I was like, oh my God, I haven't listened to that song in quite some time. That is always, always, always gonna rank top three Mindy Sounds songs of all time because that is such a
Damn.
funky, gritty tune. Because it's so like, and I mean this in the best way possible. It's such like early 2000s mixed with like alternative, gritty, like rock, but it doesn't overstay its welcome on either side. With
Hmm.
Where is Luna? How did you guys meet and go like our styles are gonna blend perfectly together?
Yeah, I mean that. First of all, thank you. Yeah, I think that song is another cool kind of mesh of like styles you like wouldn't really expect. I guess maybe at the time, especially for me, it's like I don't think anyone would have really expected that I would just like start doing kind of like this early 2000s like alt rock music. But the way that whereas Luna and I met was also kind of crazy because like I think we originally just reached out to each other like on Instagram kind of like months and months before we had like put out any music together. And then and I think it was like so far it was so long ago that I was still like living in Aurora with my parents, and then like I ended up moving to Peterborough with them during COVID, and then after a year of that I moved to Toronto, and then I'm where I am now in Toronto is where I ended up moving to. And then it like just so happened to be that I where I moved in Toronto is like minutes away, like walking distance from whereas Luna lives in Toronto. And we like found that out just by like I think she had like posted like a photo off her balcony from her apartment, and it was like of my neighborhood. So I was like, wait, like I think we live in the same neighborhood. Like that was literally the reveal of it. And so it was just like such a small world moment, obviously. And at that point, like we had already made like the song Normal together. And I think we might have been working on some other stuff. And so, and then it's like from that point on, we obviously found out that we could like get together in the studio in person, and it didn't have to
Yeah.
be like sending files back and forth anymore. So that was really cool.
Is the creative direction behind cover arts like Normal and like Out My Head, for example, thought of at the same time with the music creation, or do you guys or you specifically with all of your music kind of like say, hey, the song now sounds like this, we need the cover to match?
I think I think for the most part it's kind of well it's honestly kind of funny because I think a lot of the time for me when I do the cover art for my own stuff, which might be more often than people think, but I think in those cases, like sometimes I do like while I'm working on like the early demo, I'm literally like, oh, this is what the cover art's gonna look like. I can see it now. Like, and then that, and then I'll probably like never be able to get that out of my mind. And so it's like it has to be that or it won't feel right kind of thing. And I could definitely see something like normal or out my head kind of being that as well. But I think also it definitely happens a lot of the time too that the song is finished and it's just kind of like, oh, what visuals would best represent the vibe of this song, you know? Because obviously it's like even comparing Normal and Out My Head, it's like they're so different in style musically. You'd kind of expect the artwork to be like super different too, and I think that is the result. It's kind of like one is this kind of like dreamy pop thing, and then the other is like this, punk, high school punk looking kind of photo shoot. So yeah, I think it can work out like in both ways.
Bringing it to probably your most, I would say, like where a lot of like creative assets went into it is the cover for Do Not Stand in My Grave, because you can just tell from that picture alone there's a lot of work in hands behind the scenes. Quickly, or like take your time, of course, I mean say quickly, break that down as well, because that's one of those covers where you look at it and go like, you can see that like downtown Toronto, New York, because of just how perfect it is.
Yeah, I know that album cover really, like, in my mind, like turned out perfectly for the project, and it was all Hallie Tutt, my amazing friend that I've known since high school, who was like insane photographer and videographer, and we've worked together so much throughout the years, obviously, and she's literally like one of the few people that I still know from high school, and just happens to be like this genius. So that was definitely like very lucky of me to become close friends with her. But yeah, like that cover art was literally all her. Like, she came over, and we took all these promo photos that I used with this kind of cool, like, ghostly, like outdoor nighttime vibe to everything. And then for the actual cover art, what we ended up doing was like, she did like a 3D scan of me just sitting in my kitchen with like all these lights set up. And then just like took that scan and put it into whatever kind of visual software she's using, and then just like created that whole world for the background. And I had all these little details kind of in like a list that I wanted to be added, that kind of like worked with different aspects of different songs on that album. So I think there's like the kite, and the broken helmet, and the broken car, and just all these little things that were kind of supposed to like tie everything together if you like look closely, like almost like these little kind of visual Easter eggs within the artwork. And yeah, like she just completely killed it. And I remember like when she first sent it over, it was like, damn, this is insane.
That was my reaction when you revealed that in 2022. I still remember. I was just like, holy shit. And I haven't seen her work in honestly quite some time. But I know the last time I saw her, she was working with like Apple. And I was like, oh
Mm.
my God, like that's incredible.
Yeah, like she just goes crazy with the opportunities she creates for herself and working with these companies. And actually, funny you mentioned that, because the last time we worked together was for Apple, which was insane. Like, I, through her, got to do this like quick little ad campaign, do the music for it, that was for like an Apple Books ad that was going to be on their, I guess, like social media and stuff like that. And so it was like all of a sudden, that's kind of the nature of communication with her, is like she'll be like MIA for like 6 months, and then we'll be like, hey, what's up? And then she'll be like, hey, I've got this Apple ad, like, do you want to do the music for it? And it's like, oh yeah, I definitely will try.
Yeah,
And so
I
yeah, it's
that's
like,
awesome.
that was just obviously so cool to get to do.
And that proves right there, it's the connections you have and the friendships you make that make opportunities like this. And it always combats the I have 1,000 followers, so I should be doing a thing with people who have 1,000 followers, or like even bigger
Mm.
numbers. That's so funny you said it that way, because I messaged a really good friend of the FTI community. His name is Joe Ash. He's a Twitch streamer and like a all-encompassing video game speedrunner. And the last time I messaged him was in November, and I had this pit in my stomach, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Now it sounds like I'm only messaging him because I want to ask him for a collaboration. So you saying like
Mm.
sometimes a person will go like MIA for like 6 months, and then all of a sudden they present an opportunity. I see it in a completely different light now because I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, it benefits them too.
Yeah, no, it's just like you never know, you know. It's just funny that it can be that way, like just with communication. It's like there's no way of knowing what is going on with someone else when it's like you're only communicating like through phones, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh yeah, there's actually this really cool thing that we can both work on now out of nowhere."
If you were to compare where you were for "Do Not Stand at My Grave" and you were to compare it to where you were with "The Stars Could Burn Out," who were you then, and who were you when with the most recent album? Was there like a giant leap in like your sound, do you find, or do you just feel like it's a more redefined version of your music?
Hmm. I think the biggest difference to me in the music is like probably the kind of growth in songwriting and like lyric writing and kind of like the stories of songs. And it's hard to compare the two albums because they're so different. And obviously like Do Not Stand in My Grave had this kind of like concept album approach of like, all the songs are gonna be connected to each other, and it's all gonna flow, and it's gonna be this like, story throughout each song, throughout the whole album. Like, whereas The Stars Could Burn Out is more so just like, it's a love album, and it's just a collection of really meaningful songs that I like really tried to write and perfect in like the ways that I thought I'd grown the most as an artist. And so, yeah, it's a hard comparison, but I think that you can just kind of hear the growth in those songs and in those ways of like the lyrics and the songwriting and even the production. Even though it's quite different, it's like, I made kind of conscious efforts to do things very differently in ways that I probably, wouldn't normally do. And so I think giving myself kind of that challenge like ended up really working, and it all turned out exactly how I hoped it would by doing that. So,
And it
yeah.
produced two incredible, always timeless records. With both
Thank you.
projects,
Thank you.
because you really just talked about it too, is vulnerability. It is kind of the signature question I ask every creator because stories of vulnerability with creators is something I die to learn about.
Mm.
Whether it's chasing your dreams or honing your crafts, how does vulnerability tie into your music? Or if you want to get nitty gritty, more specifically, how does it tie into the all encompassing creation process?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me I've always kind of it's like it's literally been like a goal to try and be more vulnerable in my music. I think that I think in a lot of ways that's what my early music was missing, was kind of that actual like vulnerability and that kind of like more close more closely a look into who I was as like a songwriter and an artist and a person. And so, yeah, I think it plays such a big role now because I've kind of really figured out how to be more vulnerable in my music and talk about things that I want to talk about in music and do it in a way that I think comes off the right way and is something that people would want to listen to. And I think especially with like love songs, just to focus more on the stars could burn out, it's like a big a big challenge honestly is like making sure that they don't feel like just super corny, because it's like I just feel like that's like the running joke with like overly like positive love music, is that like it can just so easily be like very corny and very like, like like people that don't fully connect to that like genre or that story might just like not be interested in listening at all, because it's like they don't want to hear that. but but I think if it's like written a certain way and it's not done in like a corny fashion, then you can kind of get it to work so that it's like, even people that can't necessarily relate might still enjoy it. But yeah, it's like that was definitely a goal for me, is like keeping it vulnerable and true to what I wanted to be saying and write about, while like, keeping it this level of like not being too corny and too, like I don't know how else to describe, like just something that people would like get kind of like put off.
I think you sum it up perfectly because there's so many songs on the radio that make its way into Spotify daily mixes where they're basically just saying the same thing through the whole album, and there's no substance. There's
Mm.
really no like substance. They're kind of just like buying time and finding a catchy beat, making a catchy hook. But when you actually like tell a genuine story that, hey, maybe I don't listen to country, but I have a few country songs I like because of the message in it, as opposed to like I guess like your
Hmm.
everyday country song going about the same thing. Is the vulnerability is a lot more readable or I guess digestible for someone like me who doesn't listen to country. So that's perfect.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like that's honestly a great way to put it, is just like if you're someone that truly believes that like you like every genre of music except country, because that's something I hear so often
So
still. It's like
often.
that's probably not true. You probably just haven't heard a country song that you like yet. And there does exist one. Like there has to
Yes.
be for every person, you know.
Yes. I remember in high school I thought I was the quote unquote edgy kid because I was like I don't like K-pop and I don't like country, but
Mm.
like I said it so much where I'm just like, oh my god, like I don't even know if I've ever given the two a chance. And then
Yeah.
I find my favorite bar in Guelph is the Stampede Ranch, which is a full country bar, and I'm just like, oh, that's very ironic how that plays out.
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
exactly. It's like you're just, and it's kind of, it makes sense. It's like if you don't think you like a whole genre, you're probably not going to like go looking for music in that genre and like
yeah.
try to disprove yourself. But it's just funny to think that people honestly think that like there's an entire genre of music that they don't enjoy.
And they make it a statement.
Hmm. Everyone has to know it.
That's incredible. With 2025 being relatively new, we're 3 months in, and you having a concert's worth of music in your arsenal at any given time. I know that for you, you're someone that wants to put on more of a presentation rather than fill a 20-minute slot for a concert. Do you plan on pursuing live shows, or do you kind of still hold off on like when you go to perform, it's going to be exactly how you want your like first official headlining show to go?
Yeah, I don't know. That's still like honestly a pretty big like question mark for me, is like how I want to approach doing live stuff more, because it's like the show I did with Where is Luna obviously was like such a specific kind of opportunity that like came to me as well. Like that wasn't even something where like I was like, okay, it's time for me to do a live show. Like, I'm gonna, start reaching out to places and do it. It was literally like, the company Breaking Sound reached out to me or reached out to me and Whereas Luna and wanted us to kind of do like a collab show. And at that point for me, it was literally just like, you know, I guess I have to do this live show. Like, I can't say no, even though I don't feel ready at all and I've never performed. It's just like, it's literally now or never, like, because the opportunity has just presented itself to me perfectly. So it's like, and then that was kind of the experience, was like, okay, and now I have to start, we did all these rehearsals and got our band for everything set up, and it was really like this trial period of like, let me make sure I feel like I can actually do this.
Hmm.
And even with all that, it's like I was pooping my pants the night of, which I think was just bound to happen regardless. But yeah, so moving forward, it's hard to say, because I feel like there's still that level of like, I don't know if I'm really like ready to start like consistently doing live shows. It's hard to
Hmm.
even imagine like what I'd want to do for a live show that like I would really feel satisfied with. Cause I just don't really feel like, doing kind of like an instrumental backing track and me with a microphone is like the show I want to be putting on.
Yeah.
And so, but then anything more complicated than that, you kind of have to start getting into like, well, I really would have to know like what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and what the whole setup and plan would be, and so yeah, like I've definitely put some thought into it, but I feel like it's still kind of like, as far as the short term and near future, like I don't really see myself like actively seeking out those those opportunities, like doing kind of little mini Toronto live shows. But that being said, like some opportunities have kind of are maybe up in the air a little, of like some cool stuff that would maybe be more like DJ oriented, which is just like much easier. And I think that anything like that is really cool. And even, like we had a New Year's party here, and I was DJing for it, and it's just like doing stuff like that is always fun, because it's like you can it's an opportunity to kind of like, I guess not perform, but like play out new music, and just like, show people stuff in like more of like a performance or like a show setting than if they were just like gathered around the computer kind of thing.
Listen to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely like showing new music in like some kind of like party or like live way is like always way better than just like, showing them the file in
Yes.
on the computer kind of thing.
I think somebody that you would work amazing with, and like kind of, well, as you were talking about like the live show, you don't want to perform on backing tracks because you just don't feel like that would really live up to your music. Um, is Average James.
Mm.
On his podcast, we talked about how he was going to back out of the relaunch because he didn't want to perform This Is Absurd on backing tracks because it wouldn't live up to what he literally spent months making. Honestly, years too, because at the time he was about 2 years old under the name Average James. And then when he got a band together, I can't describe enough the feeling I had for him of hearing instruments play what he made in his bedroom.
Mm.
So I feel like translating that to you, it would be really neat if there was like a group of people like Average James who could connect you to make your music come to life in their renditions. Because Average James said the coolest thing about live shows he wants to put on is you might hear a song like Bloom or Motel 6, but you might only hear it that way once if you were at that show, which
Hmm.
makes music so much more special, I find.
No, definitely. Like that's 100% part of it too. I think that like the even the live band stuff for my Baby G show in Toronto was just so cool to get to do, and just kind of figuring out all the like how to play these parts of my song that I made in my bedroom, and now we have like a guitarist and a drummer like doing the parts. And so it's like, yeah, that was just so awesome, and I totally relate to the idea of like having music that's kind of like more exclusive, I guess, to like the live show, because that's also something I really try to do is for like DJing stuff is like making like remixes or edits or special versions that I'm like just playing for the event or for the party or whatever, that's just like no one's heard that version of it yet, or no one's heard this remix before, even though they'll like recognize the song. It's like still new in that way.
Yes.
And that's kind of just that idea is still like so exciting to me for in the future if I get to do like more DJ kind of stuff with maybe bigger audiences. It's like i I really want to do more stuff like that where it's like I can have like new music and new versions of things that are like exclusive to if you come and hear me DJ with them kind of thing.
100%. 100%. Wrapping this conversation up with a bow, I'm going to hit you with the three hardest questions known to the In Your Studio podcast audience.
Oh yeah.
I hope you are very ready because they are very hard.
Let's
Number one,
go. Let's go.
what is your go-to anthem right now?
Oh god. I think the only reason this is so hard is cuz I just forget what I'm
Yeah.
listening to. It's like even when I go on Instagram to like add like oh, I want to add like this song that I've been listening to like nonstop for the past week on my story, and then I go to my story and it's like what am I listening to? I don't remember what any music I'm listening to right now. It's like
So relatable.
so I don't know, like I've
Is
been
there an
listening
artist?
I've been listening this new artist actually that Dylan Couch Apparel just put me on to. Their name is like Brevin Kim, I believe.
Okay.
And their stuff I've really been vibing with lately for sure. And they have a song Carousel that is really dope, and they actually just put out like a collab album with the rapper Bones, and
Okay.
it was really cool. So I've been listening to them a lot, and that's like they're like a new artist to me, so it's been really cool like going through their whole discography basically.
They quick side note, Shoop, probably the biggest Bones fan I know. So at work tomorrow, I'm gonna ask him about this
Oh yeah.
project and I'm gonna pick his brain.
Yeah, he'll probably know it because it's I think it's cool stuff for Bones to be on too, like kind of different.
Yeah. Next one. This doesn't have to be in the FTI community. This can be absolutely anywhere. An artist or a collective that you recommend the FTI community check out. Could be widely known, could be independent, could be from your neighborhood.
Hmm. I think. Hmm. Like it can just be like another creator or
Absolutely anybody.
yeah, I think I would probably just recommend like Clovers for one for sure. Like if you haven't listened to his stuff, now that he's got some of his own music too, like go check him out. And then also I would just say because he's just starting out, my homie Joseph, who just started a movie review page, and he's doing really cool stuff. I think if you're into movies and movie reviews and stuff like that, then definitely check out his page. I think it's I review this movie or
Yes, yeah, I approved this
yeah.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
when when you sent me his page, actually, I was in Walmart with Danielle, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I beat Zane to the punch. I've already been checking this stuff
Yeah, I know that
out.
that was cool. I was so hyped to see honestly that you like had already followed him and been checking out his stuff. So that was dope.
And then the final question is the I usually find is the most generic, but sometimes like the what do I do? Go ahead, plug yourself. Where can people find you? What do you have coming up? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm just working on a bunch of new music right now. Like 2025 is just going to be a big like dropping new music for me year, and I'm actually not 100% sure when this will drop, but uh I've actually got an EP coming out in March for a bunch of remixes that are kind of like from past stuff. The project's called Remix Archives, and so it's 6 tracks that are all the way back to 2019 on there. And they're just like a bunch of remixes and different versions that have never been released before for songs that are already out. Like a bunch of bittersweet stuff with Clovers that are like new remix versions. So I'm hyped for that to come out. That's literally coming out March 21st. So
Okay.
but I think if you like, you know, more electronic kind of music, then that's definitely going to be a cool vibe. But yeah, otherwise I'm just working on a bunch of stuff for the rest of the year and just doing my thing.
Hanging out in the coziest atmosphere I've seen yet on the Nears
Hmm.
Chicken podcast.
I'm glad that's a landmark award for me there. Coziest coziest podcasting zone.
Dude, year-end awards. I'm just gonna have different categories.
Yeah.
People can vote. FTI community. I have learned so much about my great friend Zane, and I hope you've learned so much about both Zane and Mindy Sounds. You can catch him on all streaming platforms. He has a Patreon. He has a drum kit, which I purchased last Black Friday, and I am excited to learn from Shoop on how to use this because it is sitting on my computer and I'm eagerly waiting to start
Let's
creating
go. Yeah,
music.
that's your the start of your producer arc
That's what I
is that drum
mean.
kit. Let's go.
That's what I said to Derek as well. Yeah, you can check him out absolutely everywhere. Zane, thank you so much for this. FTI community, I will catch you Monday with a new creator of the week. Have a great drive to work or have a great sleep.